are talking about the top stories from Asian Journal for the year 2015. If you're just joining us, we are talking about September of 2015. Annie, please take it away.
President Barack Obama nominated Rear Admiral Raquel Cruz Bono to the rank of Vice Admiral and for the position of Defense Health Agency or DHA Director in the United States Navy. She currently serves as Director of the DHA's National Capital Region Medical Directorate and the 11th Chief of the Navy Medical Corps. The Navy commissioned Bono in June 1979 and assigned her to lead the Military Services Casualty Receiving Fleet in Saudi Arabia during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. In 2012, Bono and her brother, Rear Admiral Anatolio B. Cruz III, made history in the Navy when they became the first and only siblings of Filipino descent to hold flag officer ranks simultaneously.
This is such good news for our kababayans dahil marami tayong mga Pilipino in the Navy, di ba, Allison?
Yes.
So, what can you say about, all these people that are Filipino Americans that are getting all these achievements?
It's great that we have representation in our Navy, in our armed forces, in the government, just wherever we have Filipinos, because it'll definitely give a voice to our community that often feels voiceless. So it's very important that we have these leaders in our community.
Yeah, because people like you can look to people like these and say, isang araw, magiging ganyan din ako, di ba? Because when I was growing up, there were no Filipinos in high positions in any of the fields.
Yeah, I guess because they could be really good inspirations for people, di ba? And we know that, it's never an easy trek to achieve something as high or be granted any sort of commission or appointment, di ba? Marami ka talagang dapat nagawa.
Okay, let's move on to October. The top stories in October from Asian Journal. Annie?
A former Filipino car dealer who operated a large car dealership in Glendora, California in the 1980s pleaded guilty in October to federal charges for bank fraud of nearly $50 million and lying to banks. Emiliano Riodica Jr., 71, who was popularly known as June, ran a group of companies nearly 3 decades ago that included the third largest car dealership in the country. When the business began to collapse in the late 1980s, Riodica fled to the Philippines. He became an Australian citizen in 1992 and was arrested at Los Angeles International Airport in November 2012 during a layover on a flight to Canada. He will be sentenced in February 2016, faces up to 79 years in federal prison and a 6.5 million fine or 2 times the loss that resulted in his offenses.
Naku po, ayan na. Why do criminals flee to the Philippines para magtago? Ayan, huli na kayo. To think that he was just on a layover, right? He wasn't even here to go through to Los Angeles, nahuli pa siya. Yan.
Siguro the technology has kept up with the times. This is a decades-old case. At marami siya talagang mga kababayan na mga naloko.
Kaya, when I was growing up, when you cross the border, wala pang mga computer systems, di ba? But now, your generation, everything you do, it's all on the computer, right? So that's why they say to the next generation, remember you have a cyber footprint that you have to make sure you keep up and make sure na hindi siya makakasira sa'yo balang araw. Yeah, okay. Moving on to October in China. Let's find out about this story. Annie?
A United Nations-backed arbitral tribunal at The Hague in the Netherlands has rejected China's strongest argument against the Philippines that the tribunal has no right to hear the Philippines case over the West Philippine Sea or the South China Sea. The tribunal, which has held that both the Philippines and China are parties to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and therefore bound by its provisions on the settlement of disputes, unanimously decided it has the right to hear Manila's historic case against Beijing. This first-round victory means the tribunal can hear the merits of the Philippines case and issue a definitive ruling by 2016.
Okay, and we've been talking about this, like China wanting to grab the Spratlys, sino ba talagang may-ari ng lupa na to? Why everybody just keeps arguing, and because of the recent APEC that happened in the Philippines, at least we know that should we need help, other nations are behind the Philippines.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, and pag-usapan naman natin ang nangyari sa November.
Paris, France was the site of multiple terrorist attacks on the night of Friday, November 13, coordinated by the Islamic State extremist group. Explosions occurred at the Stade de France, the national sports stadium, where an anticipated soccer match between Germany and France was taking place. Several street shootings and bombing attacks also occurred at 4 populated outdoor plazas where a 23-year-old American student from Cal State Long Beach was killed. The worst massacre of the night was a mass shooting at the Bataclan Music Hall Theater, where the Eagles of Death Metal were performing to a crowd of over 1,000 people when 3 men entered the hall and opened fire. The deadly attacks, which reportedly left at least 129 people dead and 352 wounded, prompted French President François Hollande to declare a state of emergency and declare that France is at war. He further said that France is committed to destroying the Islamic State group, and France has launched airstrikes in ISIS territories, Iraq and Syria, while several of the gunmen have been killed or detained. Police are still on the search for others involved with the ISIS-coordinated attacks.
Okay, we will react to that story when we return here on Kababayan Today.